Are you ready for some worship? Welcome to worship from Nora, Unitarian Universalist Church in Hanscom, Minnesota for Sunday, February 7th, 2021. I'm glad you're here, however you are here. Although we are not currently meeting in our building, the bills for the church continue to flow in, and the ongoing life and work of the church depends upon our gifts to it. You may send your pledge payments and other donations to the church address you'll see at the end of worship. I'm glad you're here. You may not want to be here. You may long for your pew in your sanctuary, for the peace that settles over you when you settle into that familiar spot, for the people you see around you in that beloved space, and for the ones you see in your memory when you settle into that familiar spot in that beloved space. For the scents and the sounds and the certain slant of light that tell you you are on sacred ground, seeking the holy, prepared to find it and be found by it. I long for all of that too, for you and for myself. Still, I'm glad you are here. Glad you have chosen again to tend your spirit in this time and this way, even while longing for another way in a time yet to come. Glad that our deliberate gathering, transcending separations of both time and space, heals brokenness in our souls, sustains our faith community, sends ripples of blessings surely and mysteriously to the edges of all that we know and beyond. I'm glad you are here. Let us worship together, for indeed we are together, even now, even in this way. There is only one great thing: to live and see in huts and on journeys the great day that dawns and the light that fills the world.
Our song is hymn number 368, Now Let Us Sing, by an anonymous composer. This is a two-part zipper song, which means that only one word changes in each verse. There are two parts. I'm going to sing the first part twice, and then we'll add the second part. Now let us sing, 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 and that line repeats. And then the next line is lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. And the second part is sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Let's go. Yeah. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Our story this morning is read by the Reverend Emily Gage from Unity Temple, Unitarian Universalist congregation in Oak Park, Illinois.
Carmela Full of Wishes. Carmela scootered along the uneven dirt path, watching men stoop to work with their hands. Her birthday bracelets jingling and jangling, the thick greenhouse air smelled of marigolds and overturned earth and fresh manure. Carmela knew exactly what manure was, but she didn't want to think about that. Not today. Today she awoke to candles in her pancakes and her mom saying, "Happy birthday to you," and told her, "Go on, mija, make a wish." But Carmela's wish had already come true. She was finally old enough to go with her big brother. Carmela followed as he cut back onto the street at Freedom Boulevard, past the crowded bus stop and fenced-off repair shop, past the old folks' home where two hunched old women waved smiles, past the huge home improvement store where her dad used to stand around weekend mornings waiting for work. Carmela tried to make small talk with her brother as their metal cart rattled, but her brother didn't make small talk back. He didn't want her tagging along. "Too bad," she told him with her glare. Just outside the laundromat, she picked a lone dandelion growing among the concrete weeds. She pulled a breath and leaned toward the fuzzy white bulb. But just before she could blow, her brother butted in. "Did you even make a wish? You're supposed to make a wish. Everyone knows that." "Of course I made a wish," she told him. But it was a lie. Carmela didn't know. Carmela helped her brother sort colors one-handed, helped him load the washers one item at a time. While their clothes spun, her imagination turned, each new thought ushered in by a jingle of bracelets. Her brother found the sound annoying and shot her a dirty look. "Too bad," she told him with her glare. She jingled her bracelets as she rode up to Miss Maria's vegetable stand, imagining a machine built into her bedroom wall, one that would spit out anything she could think of, but mostly candies. She jingled her bracelet in line at the locksmith shop, imagining her mom sleeping in one of those fancy hotel beds she spent all day making for fancy guests. She jingled her bracelets at the bodega down the block from their old apartment building, imagining her dad getting his papers fixed so he could finally be home. She jingled her bracelets outside the pharmacy, eyeing the shiny new bikes in the window. Her brother stopped in his tracks. "Why do you have to be so annoying?" She thrummed her bracelets at him and said, "It's a free country." The only time she didn't reach for her bracelets was when her brother ducked into his friend's house. Carmela slumped down on the curb, silently imagining all the things she could turn him into. The slimy pink tail of a rat, a cockroach scurrying away from the light, a wheelbarrow full of manure left in the sun. She stared down at the dandelion in her hand. It seemed so much more important now that she knew it was a place to put her wishes. What What if she made the wrong choice? Carmela tried to hop a curb on the long trip home, but her tire caught and her handlebars twisted and she went crashing to the concrete. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. But then she saw her dandelion crushed beside the drain. She looked up at her big brother, warm tears rolling down her cheeks. He lifted up her scooter. You okay? She shook her head and pointed. My wish. He took her by the arm and led her back up the block, past the laundromat and the flea market, past the greenhouses and the smell of manure, past the overgrown park and across the train tracks. He didn't stop until they made it to an abandoned farmhouse near a cliff overlooking the sea. Close your eyes, he said. Carmela closed them. Now, make your wish, he said. Carmela listened to the ocean's hum in the distance. She listened to the squawking birds. She listened to the wind whistling past her ears. Then she opened her eyes. She saw hundreds of tiny white spores lifting into the air, floating out toward the far-off syrup. The sky was full of wishes. Let's go, her brother said. Don't you want to know my wish? She asked. He shook his head. If you tell, it won't come true. She looked back one last time, then took off her bracelets and followed her brother home. The end. I wonder what she wished for. What would you wish for?
Joy and woe are woven fine, wrote William Blake. And when this we rightly know, safely through the world we go. Because we daily live the truth in the poet's words, we pause each time we gather to worship, wherever and however we gather, to speak into the embrace of this beloved community, our joys and our sorrows. You may speak them aloud wherever you are. You may type them into the text and know that we will hold them with you. We send our loving concern to Gil Hansen, who is feeling poorly, and we hold in fierce compassion all those without shelter in these bitterly, bitterly cold days across our state. May they find warmth for their bodies and for their souls. Let us hold all of our joys and sorrows in our hearts as we enter a spirit of meditation. Our words of meditation this morning by the Reverend Lynn Unger, Groundhog Day. Celebrate this unlikely oracle, this ball of fat and fur, whom we so mysteriously endow with the power to predict spring. Let's hear it for the improbable heroes who, frightened at their own shadows, nonetheless unwittingly work miracles. Why shouldn't we believe this peculiar rodent holds power over sun and seasons in his stubby paws? Who says that God is all grandeur and glory? Unnoticed in the earth, worms are busily, brainlessly tilling soil. Field mice, all unthinking, have scattered seeds that will take root and grow. Grape hyacinth, against all reason, have been holding up green shoots beneath the snow. How do you think spring arrives? There is nothing quieter, nothing more secret, miraculous, mundane. Do you want to play your part in bringing it to birth? Nothing simpler. Find a spot not too far from the ground and wait. Amen. Our first reading this morning, the poem For My People by Margaret Walker. For my people everywhere, singing their slave songs repeatedly, their dirges and their ditties and their blues and jubilees, praying their prayers nightly to an unknown God, bending their knees humbly to an unseen power. For my people, lending their strength to the years, to the gone years and the now years and the maybe years, washing, ironing, cooking, scrubbing, sewing, mending, hoeing, plowing, digging, planting, pruning, patching, dragging along, never gaining, never reaping, never knowing, and never understanding. For my playmates in the clay and dust and sand of Alabama backyards, playing baptizing and preaching and doctor and jail and soldier and school and mama and cooking and playhouse and concert and store and hair and Miss Chumbi and company. For the cramped, bewildered years we went to school to learn to know the reasons why and the answers to, and the people who, and the places where, and the days when, and the memories of bitter hours when we discovered we were black and poor and small and different, and nobody cared, and nobody wondered, and nobody understood. For the boys and girls who grew in spite of these things to be man and woman, to laugh and dance and sing and play and drink their wine and religion and success, to marry their playmates and bear children and then die of consumption and anemia and lynching. For my people thronging 47th Street in Chicago and Lenox Avenue in New York and Rampart Street in New Orleans, lost disinherited, dispossessed, and happy people, filling the cabarets and taverns and other people's pockets, and needing bread and shoes and milk and land and money and something all our own. For my people, walking blindly, spreading joy, losing time, being lazy, sleeping when hungry, shouting when burdened, drinking when hopeless, tied and shackled and tangled among ourselves by the unseen creatures who tower over us omnisciently and laugh. For my people blundering and groping and floundering in the dark of churches and schools and clubs and societies, associations and councils and committees and conventions, distressed and disturbed and deceived and devoured by money-hungry, glory-craving leeches, preyed on by facile force of state and fad and novelty, by false prophet and holy believer. For my people standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way from confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams and Eves and their countless generations. Let a new earth rise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let a people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching be the pulsing in our spirits and our blood. Let the martial songs be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a race of men now rise and take control. And our second reading by Marge Piercy, The Art of Blessing the Day. This is the blessing for rain after drought. Come down, wash the air so it shimmers, a perfumed shawl of lavender chiffon. Let the parched leaves suckle and swell. Enter my skin. Wash me for the little chrysalis of sleep rocked in your plashing. In the morning, the world is peeled to shining. This is the blessing for sun after long rain. Now everything shakes itself free and rises. The trees are bright as pushcart ices. Every last lily opens its satin thighs. The bees dance and roll in pollen, and the cardinal at the top of the pine sings at full throttle, fountaining. This is the blessing for a ripe peach. This is luck made round. Frost can nip the blossom, kill the bee. It can drop a hard, green, useless nut. Brown fungus, the burrowing worm that coils in rot, can blemish it, and wind crush it on the ground. Yet this peach fills my mouth with juicy sun. This is the blessing for the first garden tomato. Those green boxes of tasteless acid the store sells in January, those red things with the savor of wet chalk, they mock your fragrant name. How fat and sweet you are, weighing down my palm, warm as the flank of a cow in sun. You are the savor of summer in a thin red skin. This is the blessing for political victory. Although I shall not forget that things work in increments and epicycles and sometimes leaps that half the time fall back down, let's not relinquish dancing while the music fits into our hips and bounces our heels. We must never forget, pleasure is real as pain. the blessing for a return of a favorite cat, the blessing for love returned, for friends returned, for money received unexpected, the blessing for the rising of bread, the sun, the oppressed. I am not sentimental about old men mumbling the Hebrew by rote with no more feeling than one says Gesundheit. But the discipline of blessing is to taste each moment, the bitter, the sour, the sweet, and the salty, and be glad for what does not hurt. The art is in compressing attention to each little and big blossom of the tree of life, to let the tongue sing each fruit its savor, its aroma, and its use. Attention is love. What we give children, mothers, fathers, pets, our friends, the news, the woe of others. What we want to change, we curse and then pick up a tool. Bless whatever you can with eyes and hands and tongue. If you can't bless it, get ready to make it new. Here end the readings. A story in my second grade reader opened on a backyard family picnic as a child made a wish and blew out their birthday candles. And it ended in a backyard picnic as the child, now a year older, made a wish and blew out their birthday candles. In the pages in between, the child learned about other traditional wishing moments. Upon seeing a shooting star or the first star of the evening, when seeing a white horse in a field, pulling a turkey wishbone, tossing pennies in a well, blowing seeds from a dandelion, blowing an eyelash that has fallen out. At the second party, as they prepare to blow out their candles, the child reveals that their year-old wish has come true. They'd wished for another backyard picnic, just like the one on their birthday the year before. Wishing, especially ritualized wishing, is a sweet part of childhood and one adults often encourage. Did you make a wish? Don't forget to make a wish. Don't tell anyone. Your wish won't come true if you tell anyone. But many adults have at least some ambivalence, if not outright negative feelings toward the concept of wishing. We denigrate or dismiss wishful thinking. Do you really believe that gamble will pay off, or is it just wishful thinking? Do you really think she'll come back to you, or is it just wishful thinking? Sometimes we sing song, "If wishes were horses, beggars would ride," when we hear someone wish for something we think they shouldn't have or have no possibility of gaining. I've successfully held contradictory attitudes toward wishing for most of my adult life. I'm all in on birthday candle wishes and turkey wishbone wishes and dandelion wishes. And I've been hung up for a long time on linguistic and theological distinctions between wish and hope, as well as more generally also being all in on giving wishes a bad rap as magical thinking that's both out of touch with reality and unlikely to spur action that might alter reality in the wished-for direction. But recently, my thinking has evolved. There is a difference between wishing and hoping. A wish generally connotes a desire that is not possible, while a hope, strictly speaking, refers to a future event or occurrence that is a realistic possibility. The distinction between the two is significant in many instances and settings. But if the wisher or hoper knows their own heart, then it's probably time I take a break from being the language police. And wishes are magical thinking of a kind, but that's not always to be dismissed as immature or pathological. Case in point, and this is the most important way my understanding of wishes has shifted. When we send someone good wishes when they're sick or injured, or wish them well on an exam, or write in a birthday greeting or graduation card or the like, my wish for you today and always is that you know how precious you are and how very loved. In all these instances, what we're really doing is blessing the recipient of our wishes in socially acceptable secular language. We're offering a blessing, a prayer to whatever unnamed or named higher power, fate, God, or goddess we may or may not believe in. Prayer can be characterized as magical thinking, I suppose, but while materially nothing more than air we expel or thoughts that flit through our minds, prayers are nevertheless both powerful and efficacious. More than one randomized, double-blind study of remote intercessory prayer has shown beneficial health outcomes when patients are prayed for by people they don't know, and when the patients are in fact unaware of the prayers. Shorter durations of fever and hospital stay, for example, and lower mortality rate. Unitarian Universalists, myself included, are fond of saying that prayer works on the prayer, changes the one uttering the prayer rather than shifting God's action in the world. I believe that is true. I also believe it isn't the whole truth. I believe that in ways we don't yet and may never understand, the prayers we send into the universe and the blessings and the curses ripple through creation, effecting change in ourselves, in the objects of our prayers, the objects of our blessings and curses, in the unfolding of the future. On the surface, it may be hard to differentiate between wishful thinking, beggars will ride kind of wishes, and wishes that are really blessings or curses, sort of inside-out blessings. The language and the sentence structure are nearly identical. I wish you didn't have a job and could stay home and play with me all day long. I wish I had $1 million. I wish you a lifetime of meaningful work and loving, mutually supportive relationships. I wish someone would just steal your fancy new bike. I wish school was only 2 days a week. But most of the time, I think we can hear the difference in our heart, if not in our ears. Wishes as blessings and curses are often other-focused. Carmela's wish for her mother to rest in a big, soft, clean, fancy hotel bed. Her wish for her father's papers to be fixed. Her wish for her brother to transform into a slimy creature. Wishful thinking, on the other hand, tends to be inwardly focused and usually, though not always, acquisitive in nature. Carmela's wish for a machine in the wall of her bedroom that would spit out whatever she wants, mostly candies. When I first heard Reverend Gage read Carmela Full of Wishes, I imagined a sequel or a whole Carmela series. Carmela at 20-something, graduating from law school, practicing immigration law, helping people get their papers fixed. Carmela at 40, a successful businesswoman selling fair trade bangle bracelets, sharing her spacious and comfortable home with her mother and employing someone at a living wage to launder the sheets every week. Carmela teaching her children or her brother's children to blow wishes on dandelions and to hold the awe of the power of wishes both lightly and reverently. Because perhaps even more than a focus on others, what makes wishes blessings instead of wishful thinking is that what we wish for guides us in choosing our paths forward at every turning. Wishes, blessings, and curses may be magical thinking, conjuring up ideas of unlikely altered reality, but that's only how they start. They take on form and substance because children and teens and adults with imagination and internal resources such as fortitude and playfulness, resilience and self-possession hear the wishes of their hearts as calls to action, calls to pay attention and savor with their sight and hearing and sense of taste and touch and smell all the things they love and want to preserve and extend and experience again and again, or to hold in vivid, tender memory. And calls to turn the attention of their minds and hands to things they can neither savor nor accept, and therefore must change. Margaret Walker's poem, For My People, was published in Poetry magazine in 1937. In some of her descriptions of her people and the lives they live, jumbles of everyday joy and everyday hardship, everyday wonder and everyday battering, we might be able to place the poem more or less accurately on a chronology of the African American experience. But the final two stanzas, Walker's summary of the tasks before her people and her wishes for them, her blessings, though she doesn't use that language, those final two stanzas sound oh so contemporary to my ears, except for the gendered language. For my people, standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way from confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams and Eves and their countless generations. Let a new earth rise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let a people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching be the pulsing in our spirits and in our blood. Let the martial songs be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a race of men now rise and take control. I mean, really, how else are we to understand ourselves as a people, an American people of every race and culture, sitting in the ruins of 4 years of greed and hatred, 400 years of racial warfare, not yet a month into a new presidency, exactly a month after an insurrection, the scope of which we do not yet know? How else are we understand ourselves as a people than as standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way from confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams and Eves and their countless generations? But how do we arrive at a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching? Written more than half a century later, Out of a different social context, the final stanza of Marge Piercy's The Art of Blessing the Day seems almost to take up where Margaret Walker left off, and to answer my question, how? How do we arrive at a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching? We curse the things we want to change and then pick up a tool. Bless whatever we can with eyes and hands and tongues. And if we can't bless it, we get ready to make it new. The child in that long ago second grade reader learned through the course of a year that humanity has designated lots of opportunities for ritualized wishes. Occasions and occurrences when the chance of wishes to be fulfilled is especially high. I'm sure a study or Google search of wishing practices across cultures would turn up dozens or hundreds more such occasions and occurrences. It might serve us well to return to our childhood wishing practices if we've given them up. To make wishes on birthday candles and stars and white horses and eyelashes and wishbones and wishing wells. Because the demand of suddenly and without deliberation wishing when the moments present themselves might reveal to us hidden desires that once surfaced and wished for, set us on the path of blessing what we love, cursing what we can't accept, and picking up the tools necessary to multiply the first and change the second. The silence that follows our weekly meditation is another opportunity to make known to ourselves, to God, and to the universe our wishes to preserve what we hold dear and to change what we do not. Carmela was awed by the prospect of placing her wishes on her dandelion, concerned about making the wrong wish. I say to you, making wishes, offering blessings, muttering curses, uttering prayers, these are awesome acts full of the power of our hearts and the potential of our intentional acts. Yet, as I hope a grown-up Carmela would teach her children and her brother's children, we need not be intimidated, but rather must hold that awe both reverently and lightly. For another chance to make a wish is always at hand, and the possibility of shaping creation by making it come true. Amen. Let's join together now in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. The flame has been doused. The fire of our community still burns. In this moment, we become beacons on the prairie, bearers of light and warmth until we gather again to rekindle our communal chalice. Let a new earth rise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let a people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching be the pulsing in our spirits and in our blood. Let the martial songs be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a justice-making race now rise and take control. Amen.